Hello, hello. I am Merawat. Welcome to the ohmTown Daily News Show. That's my site. That's what aggregates everything. And that's what I use for this show. I talk about all of the news that my aggregator puts together into these 6 categories and the 50 shows that are attached. I don't run all 50 shows yet, but I plan to. I want to. I actually have this need to run all of these shows. I would love more people to show up. That would be great. Please tell a friend. Let the world know. Let everyone know about ohmTown.com. Tell them to go over to twitch.tv/ohmTown at 6 o'clock. I'm actually going to be expanding those hours. I'm probably going from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, around there. We'll see ultimately what the time frame is going to be. Don't forget that there is a podcast called ohmTown. There is a YouTube channel called ohmTown. You can just go to youtube.com/ohmTown and it'll pull up ohmTown, and ohmTown.com, and here on Twitch. So I try to be everywhere. There's also a Discord, but nobody really goes there anyway. At least not yet. You got to get some more people paying attention here on Twitch to go over to the Discord. So, not sure what my next steps are going to be in the grand scheme of things, since there are a lot of things that I want to do, but we're working on it. In the meantime, let's get into today's articles. It's been a really crazy, hectic day. I'm not sure if this is too loud. The music, that is. Anyway, let's get into today's articles. The very first article is iPhone maker Pegatron halts production at plants in Shanghai and Kunshan due to COVID restrictions. This will be an ongoing thing until everybody is vaccinated and everybody wears a mask and the virus dies. This is going to continue. It's basically the flu, but amped up to the point where it's killing 1 million people over the last 2 years, compared to the 40,000 that it typically hits in the United States. So, yeah, 1 million here in the United States. Somewhere around there. Let me verify. So we are actually at 984,000. Yeah, quite a few. But that's, in the discussions that I've had with people, they say, oh, it's just the flu, wash your hands. But the flu has never killed 1 million people in 2 years. Okay, that's just in the US, by the way. There are other countries that are just as hard hit or harder. So let's continue on. Let's click this link. It'll take us over to The Verge. Jay Peters is the author of the article. The shutdown could have a big impact for both Pegatron and Apple. Oh, I think that this will motivate manufacturers to provoke a more automated action in their plants, because interestingly enough, we say that things can get a virus, but really machines can't. And so they can be hacked, they can be breached and tweaked and infected with a virus, but all I have to do is format and reinstall, versus a human being. Well, at any rate, the more this kind of stuff happens, the more automation will kick in. The shutdown could have a significant impact on both Pegatron and Apple. Nikkei Asia reports that those Pegatron plants are still only iPhone manufacturing hubs, and Pegatron is responsible for making roughly 20 to 30% of all iPhones. Pegatron, quote unquote, hopes to resume production soon. Let's continue on. The next article is over in the Word and Tech channel. CNN Plus is reportedly drawing fewer than 10,000 viewers a day. Well, they have much more fame than I, and I too am drawing fewer than 10,000 viewers a day. CNN Plus is reportedly struggling to gain viewers just 2 weeks out from its launch, according to a report from CNBC. See, I don't advertise. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe if I advertise on CNN Plus, I might get some more viewers here in ohmTown. I can't promise that, but maybe, just maybe, I'll try it. Let's click the link. It'll take us over to The Verge as well. Emma Roth is the author. This is kind of a, I don't know, 2 weeks out. If they hyped it up at all, which I don't watch CNN, so I don't know how much they hyped it up, but 2 weeks out and only getting 10,000 viewers, it's probably not a good sign. As CNBC notes, this is a huge dip from the daily viewership of CNN's cable network, which saw an average of 773,000 viewers per day last year. But obviously CNN Plus is still new. CNN's TV channel has been around for many years, plus it's usually free for anyone with cable or satellite. Not really free. I think we all pay for cable in some way. Let's continue on to the next article. This is in the Mobile channel. Is driving high as dangerous as driving drunk? There's limited data on how marijuana impacts driving performance, but experts urge caution before getting behind the wheel. Well, today's duh is that statement right there. And this is written by Danny Bloom or Blum. I'm not sure. B-L-U-M. First name is Danny, D-A-N-I. This is a article over at NewYorkTimes.com. And I guess it's a kind of Q&A kind of a thing, because it says, question, I know all about the dangers of driving while drunk, but is driving while high on marijuana as dangerous? And the response is, any form of driving while intoxicated is obviously a bad idea, but smoking a joint or taking an edible before getting behind the wheel can pose distinctive risks. That, experts say, is because of the particular way that marijuana affects the brain and the fact that there's no standard dose for a federally criminalized drug. Yeah, right. So let's see. For the past decade, the article says for the past decade, car accidents involving cannabis have been rising. This is me making a comment, not the article, but somehow I doubt that it's really high impact accidents. Recreational drug use continues to climb. That's because it's being legalized by the states, and federal government should be legalizing it as well. I think that it's less of an issue than alcohol, and definitely less of an issue compared to cigarettes. Yet those two are legal and do much more damage to the human body. Plus, the reason why both of those are what they are is because they've been kind of legally isolated. Not everybody can distill spirits. Most people don't want to jump through the flaming hoop of brewing their own beer, although you can, as I said in a previous episode way back at the beginning. There's a thing called Beermaker, Beermkr.com. I believe it's Beermaker.com, where you can make your own different beers right there at home, throw it in the cooler when it's done, and bingo bango, beer. You do have to put it into a keg and put it under some pressure and get it cool. But anyway, there's a little bit more to it than just mashing a button. Anyway, and cigarettes are just kind of disgusting altogether, for everybody else around you and for you yourself. At any rate, there's what else in this article? A recent analysis of U.S. public safety data shows that from 2000 to 2018, the percentage of motor vehicle fatalities involving cannabis more than doubled, from 9% to about 22%. By contrast, the percentage of fatalities involving alcohol stayed roughly the same during this period, but it doesn't say how many people. Let's see. let's continue on. Maybe this article says something a little bit more to it. In one 2017 examination of more than 4,000 drivers from a police database in France, researchers found that drivers under the influence of alcohol were roughly 17.8 times more likely to be responsible for fatal car crashes, while drivers under the influence of marijuana were 1.65 times more likely to cause deadly accidents. I can tell you why. Oh, there's more. The study of U.S. roadside safety reports from 2007 estimated that drivers who used marijuana were 1.83 times more likely than sober drivers to be involved in a fatal crash. So 1.8 times more likely. Whereas up here, those drivers under the influence of alcohol were roughly 17.8 times more likely to be responsible for fatal car crashes. Again, I can tell you, oh wait, there's more again. But because cannabis can hang around in fatty tissues for up to 28 days, a positive drug test does not necessarily mean that a driver was high at the moment they were driving. Okay, there's more in this article. I skipped around quite a bit. So go over to the NewYorkTimes.com website and read this article from Danny Blum. Again, I think it's Blum. But to answer the question, is driving while high on marijuana as dangerous as drunk driving? You shouldn't drive while intoxicated in any way, shape, or form. It will hamper your judgment capabilities. But I'm just going to say don't do it. But I can pretty much predict that the data will always bear out that people who are high in driving aren't racing down the road angrily because somebody has their blinker on and they're making a left-hand turn. Alcohol and driving don't mix. Alcohol and, well, too much alcohol and being around other people who can get triggered and lash out and get angry. I mean, alcohol just does that to a person. So I'm just going to continue on. Marijuana just chills you out. You just don't get angry when you're stoned. For the most part. Obviously, somebody can annoy you and sober you up, and then you're annoyed. But anyway, I'll just leave it alone. I don't smoke, so what do I know, right? Mobble. The next article is in Mobble. This article was aggregated from phys.org, and the title is Team Develops Quality Control for Single Cell Imaging. One size doesn't necessarily fit all when it comes to testing the effects, including cancer and other diseases of endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDC, or toxins which target many factors, including the estrogen receptor. Most current screening uses high throughput assays that only focus on bulk population analysis and or engineered systems without taking into account phenotypic heterogeneity or cell-to-cell variability of endogenous receptors. Let's click that link. So this is a phys.org article written by Baylor College of Medicine, and it talks about findings published in a recent edition of Environmental Health Perspectives, and that found that when using this method, certain EDCs were only active on the endogenous ER, which were not detected by current assays. Quote, the majority of tests currently used to identify the effects of EDCs on ERs do not consider individual cell responses within the cell population, and although this is an important biological phenomenon, very few studies have attempted such experiments, said Dr. Michael Mancini, senior author on the paper, professor of molecular and cellular biology, and director of the Integrated Microscopy Core at Baylor. Quote, when it comes to screening tools for most toxicology assays, many people want a single answer or number from thousands and sometimes millions of cell responses. However, the individual cell responses are not all identical, so we focused on an assay model where each individual cell is analyzed. Now, there's going to be more in this article, and it's probably going to do a deeper dive, but I can say from my perspective, my understanding of this, the problem will be on acceptance. And if the general consensus is that these individual cell assay analyses are accepted, then this will be a bonus, because it basically narrows down and gives a little bit finer detail about individual cell responses versus just looking at the macro of cell responses and saying, oh, this is good enough. Well, knowing what the response is can actually mitigate what the anomalous harm might be. So if you are testing something and out of 100,000 cells, 10,000 of them respond differently than the other 90,000, what really is going on? Well, you might be able to find that more at the individual cell analyses version versus just the macro. So go over to phys.org and read this article titled "Team Develops Quality Control for Single Cell Imaging." It'll tell you even more about it. So this next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. I need to do something here. Pardon me. So over in the Warcrafters channel, make babies, exhume corpses, and fight cows in Sock Pop's village building card game. And the little snippet, which is actually quite large for what my aggregator normally grabs, is it says, "It's always exciting unlocking a brand new card in a card game. Unfortunately, my newest card is a corpse card. Because one of my villagers just starved to death while trying to make a baby with my other villager in a freshly built house. How tragic. I needed 4 berries by nightfall to feed both of my citizens, and I only had 3. Starving to death during the act feels especially brutal, but at least he died trying to improve the community." Let's click this link. It'll take us over to pcgamer.com and an article written by Christopher Livingston. And this is a computer game village building card game. Build a village using a deck of cards, but watch out for angry livestock and magic portals. Seems pretty neat. Indie game. Let me see where it is. It's not the last villager. I'll turn into a corpse in Stacklands, a game from an amazingly prolific Sock Pop collective. Stacklands is a village building game played entirely by stacking cards on your desktop. You build with just a single 5-card booster pack, and opening it gives you a villager, a berry bush, a rock, a log, and a coin. Drag the villager card onto the berry bush and it'll generate berry cards, which your villager can eat. Drag the villager onto the rock or log and it'll produce stone, some flint, or a stick, and so on and so forth. There are mechanisms here, and they go into greater detail and give some demonstrations of how it works. But in a nutshell, it is a village building card game by dragging cards around. Pretty neat. I think I'm going to go and check it out when I'm done with my stream today. In fact, hold on one second. I think I'm going to see if it's over on Steam. It doesn't say right out of the gate that it's on Steam. It is. So it's over at Steam, and it's only $5. So looks like it's got a very positive rating. So go check it out. Obviously, if you want to know more about this game, you can go over to pcgamer.com and check out this article by Christopher Livingston. Great name, by the way. The next article. Oh, wait. I need to take this and post it here in chat. And the next article is over in Warcrafters. American Truck Simulator returns to its roots in the upcoming Montana expansion. Now, I've watched people play this, but I have never played it. To me, it screams work. And when I'm playing a game, I don't want to feel like I'm working. It says you won't find many more prosaically named video games than Euro Truck Simulator and its transatlantic cousin, American Truck Simulator. They are exactly what it says on the box: trucking sims set in Europe and the US. They're also exceptionally good, according to this author. But before SCS Software decided to take a more serious approach with its games, it released a bunch of somewhat more dramatic titles like Big Rig Europe and Hard Truck 18 Wheels of Steel. Let's click this link. It'll take us over to PC Gamer again, and Andy Chalk is the author of this article. I think the graphics are really neat for these games. American Truck Simulator and or Euro Truck Simulator. So as far as I know, they're over on Steam, so you should check them out. But some people will find them fun. So let's see here. It says, with this sort of history, we couldn't pass up the opportunity to revisit some of these iconic areas in our upcoming DLC, SCS said in an update. One such location is Thompson Falls, a quiet city in Montana best known for its charming downtown, natural beauty, and its waterfalls. However, as many of our veteran truckers might remember, this location is also known for its logging and sawmill industries, both of which were featured in 18 Wheels of Steel, and both which will still continue to operate virtually to this day in our upcoming Montana DLC. Yeah, if it all gets mapped out and is high resolution and interactive, DLC is awesome. As long as it's complete and expands, truly expands, and isn't just a tiny little silo of update. This next article is in the Code Foundation channel. The Code Foundation is basically where I want to talk about programming, software engineering, and related technologies, the people, the places, the things, services, and so on. Here it says, in March 2022, Python made headlines in its programming world by becoming the most popular programming language. After years of hovering in the top ranks, it finally surpassed Java and C to reach the #1 spot on the TIOBE index, which I have not seen. And I won't click it. And why not? After all, it's such a fun and powerful language to work with. So Python is a really, really powerful language. At one point I had, when I was going through school, we had all worked together to develop something that could take the spoken language and break it into individual phonemes, and then we could make a person say anything that was written in a text file. And it was really interesting to just take random people's speeches, or I should say, whatever they were saying. It doesn't have to be a speech. But whatever they were saying, and we could break it all up into individual phonemes, and then we could play back their voice saying whatever we wanted to, and it basically would have taken an NSA analysis of the audio file for somebody to figure out that it was actually fake. It pretty much disappeared from our radar the moment we left, but subsequently we've seen services that pretty much that do what we had done in this master's IT class. So it was a lot of fun, and I wish I kept the source code so that I could noodle around with it to this day. But let's click this link. It'll take us over to DZone, which is all about developers. It's really something that is quite popular, so go to dzone.com. This article is written by Anker Dixit, Dixit. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly, and if I didn't, let me know. So they go into greater detail about Python, top 10 Python coding best practices for beginners to hone their skills. My advice to anybody that wants to learn how to program, there's all kinds of sources online, directed teaching in this domain is pretty important. You don't know what you don't know, so you can lead yourself down some pretty poor skill development without some type of guidance. Udemy is a great course. Your local community college is a great choice. Obviously, going to college out of high school and focusing on software development, software engineering, computer science will benefit you in the long run. I tell this to people all the time. If I could do it all over again, I would have stuck to software engineering. That way, all of the ideas that I have for products and services that I currently have to have a programmer do, I could do. The problem is if you're generally, if you are a creative, having to focus on software engineering is not necessarily something that is doable. And that's me. My brain breaks when I try and focus too much on software engineering. But Python is very utilitarian in that you can use it across so many domains, from business to cybersecurity, to data science, and so on and so on. I mean, you really just can't look anywhere without the potential of Python being there. So it's pretty neat. So let's continue on before I just keep soaking up Python chat and time. I have to keep on going. This next article is over in the Word in Tech, and it's Anker. I love Anker products. Anker products are amazing. Their cables are amazing. Their battery packs are amazing. When I saw this come through the news feed, I just had to say something. This is Anker's biggest battery pack ever. It's a 43-pound power station, and according to the author, has impressive specs. So when the power goes out, or you're visiting the great outdoors with gadgets in tow, you might carry a portable power station, and Anker might have just released the most advanced one yet. The new $1,400 Anker 757 Powerhouse offers 1,500 watts of power and 1,229 watt hours of capacity from a lithium iron phosphate battery, which it promises is faster to charge, longer lasting, and might even be safer than lithium ion battery packs you'll typically find in the market. So let's click this link and take a look at this thing. That's pretty stylish. So it has 6 AC plugs. 3 of them look like they have grounds, but 3 of them do not. It has USB 3 ports, USB-C ports, and a car socket. I'm not sure what else might be on the other side. It looks like it has a cooling system too. Well, maybe, I don't know. But it looks like a cooler, but it's probably filled with this LiFePO chemistry. Let's keep on scrolling down here. It says it. Oh, okay. So you'll find them in some electric cars because they don't need to be replaced as often, and because they don't turn into a raging inferno when hundreds of or thousands of them are badly damaged in an accident. They have a link to what is probably a Tesla crash where the battery catches on fire. Nice. Anyway, you're not going to be plugging your iPhone into this and carrying it around because this thing weighs 44 pounds. Twice as much as the 1,000 watt hour Jackery power station. And the Jackery has 1,500 watt hours. And it weighs less. Wow, this is interesting. Portable power stations are often sought out by CPAP users. And this one can double as a UPS for a PC. Hey, you know what? Why not? I'll just put this out there. What else? We're starting to see some big PV power stations embrace LiFePO 4 for the benefits, including upwards of 3,000 battery charge cycles and the ability to charge to 80% in just an hour off the wall. Things Anker 757, the Blue Yeti. Wow, that's really close to Blue Yeti. AC200P and the crowdfunding Cteki ST2000 all boast. Okay, well, there is much more over at The Verge, so go over to The Verge and read this article by Sean Hollister. Anker's biggest battery pack ever is a 43-pound power station with impressive specs. So the next article is in Smack Talk. Roborock S7 Max V Ultra Review, a Siri-controlled vacuum to clean and mop your home. The The new Roborock S7 Max V Ultra is the all-in-one cleaning companion your home deserves. Siri shortcuts enable verbose voice control, so this robot can mop and vacuum your home before cleaning itself afterward. Let's just click this link and take a gander at it. It's over at appleinsider.com, written by Andrew O'Hara, and it's a smart vacuum kind of thing because it looks like it mops and vacuums, which is pretty awesome. I might actually get one of these now. We just recently changed our flooring. We wanted carpet because it is more silent than hardwood, but eventually got sick of the carpet and switched to hardwood, and now everything is so loud I can hardly stand it. Because we have savanna cats, and they're large and loud and boisterous, and when they jump from 8 feet up in the air down to the floor, it sounds like a building just fell into my living room. At any rate, it says it has removable mopping head that snaps into place on the underside. It uses sonic vibrations to mop your floor with up to 3,000 oscillations per minute. What? I'm trying to make sense of all of this. So apparently it has great suction, and it has the ability of emptying its dustbin and refilling its water reservoir. And it says here, finally, the Roborock S7 Max V Ultra comes with the empty wash fill docking station, which is what they're also reviewing in this article. So I'm not going to get too deep into this. They have a video, I should say. They have a video over at appleinsider.com. So let's keep on going. The next article is in the Word in Tech. New 3D printing technique is a game changer for medical testing devices. Microfluidic devices are compact testing tools made up of tiny channels carved on a chip, which allow biomedical researchers to test the properties of liquids, particles, and cells at a microscale. They are crucial to drug development, diagnostic testing, and medical research in areas such as cancer, diabetes, and now COVID-19. However, the production of these devices is very labor-intensive, with minute channels and wells that often need to be manually etched or molded into a transparent resin chip for testing. So let's click this link. I'm curious what this looks like. This is a phys.org article written by Greta Harrison, University of Southern California. And it says here, researchers at the USC Viterbi, I think that's how it's pronounced, School of Engineering, have now developed a highly specialized 3D printing technique that allows microfluidic channels to be fabricated on chips at a precise microscale not previously achieved. That's great. The research team used a type of 3D printing technology known as VAT photopolymerization, which harnesses light to control the conversion of liquid resin material into its solid end state. So it's an SLR resin printer, apparently, but at micro scales. It says after light projection, we can basically decide where to build parts of the chip. And because we use light, the resolution can be rather high within a layer. However, the resolution is much worse between layers, which is a critical challenge in the building of microscale channels. Pretty neat stuff there. They talk about a 10 micron gap. He said the current commercial processes only allowed for the creation of a channel height at the 100 micron level with poor accuracy control due to the fact that the light penetrates a cured layer too deeply. Unless you are using an opaque resin, that doesn't allow as much light penetration. True. Those of us with 3D printers deal with this stuff all the time, just not at the micron scale. I'm going to scroll back up. You can go and check this out over at phys.org. New 3D printing technique is a game changer for medical testing devices. And just to add to that title, it's specifically talking about microfluidic channels in resins so that you can experiment. And it would be much cheaper if you can 3D print it. than trying to get it fabricated. Mainly because when it's manufactured in other ways, you have to pump out a bunch of them to get the cost down. But because the resolution is so high, trying to get many of them from the same process means getting rid of the masters so that the resolution stays high, because as you keep on printing out, or not printing out, as you keep on producing in the conventional way, which is essentially etching or forming it in molds, over time it deteriorates. Plus, masters molds are very expensive. Let's continue on. The next article is over in the Warcrafters channel again. Myth Force is a cartoony, surprisingly tough co-op roguelite from RPG veterans. Myth Force, a new roguelite loosely styled after 1980s fantasy cartoons, almost feels like a setup for a joke. The author says, "Stop me if you've heard this one. A knight, a rogue, a mage, and a ranger walk into a dungeon. Then they all die because they ran out of stamina. There are two types of video games at odds with Myth Force. One, a breezy, actiony dungeon crawler where you slay dozens of enemies while chatting with your co-op crew. The other is a deliberate, slow-paced combat game that demands precise sword swings and dodges to stay alive for more than a few minutes. The author says they're up for either approach, but the first feels more in line with Myth Force cartoony tone and its multiplayer roguelite structure." Let's click the link and take us over to PCGamer.com, where Wes Fenlon wrote this article. So it says Myth Force shares a lot of DNA with popular dungeon crawler Gunfire Reborn, which was a fun game when I played it, but with a classical fantasy aesthetic. Yeah, it is kind of cartoony. I've always had a hard time with this style of game, but if it's fun, it will be fun. I mean, it'll get some traction and people will enjoy it. So, let's see. There's I'm gonna pause that. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Something about Elden Ring, I guess, in this video, but I don't play the videos. I want you to go over to PC Gamer and play the game, or play the video yourself over there. And they have a couple of videos on this page, but one of them looks like it is the Myth Force game, because it's kind of cartoony. But it looks neat, so go check it out. I won't say much more about it. It looks like it's fun. The next article is about paleontologists being dismayed. Paleontologists are dismayed after a 112 million year old dinosaur footprint was damaged by botched construction job. This is over at the Hatch Ideas channel, but it was aggregated from Business Insider. So it says construction crews damaged several dinosaur footprints at the Mill Canyon Dinosaur Track site. The Bureau of Land Management concluded that it failed to take necessary precautions prior to construction. The historic site contains roughly 200 footprints from at least 10 different dinosaur species. The section of fragile dinosaur footprints dating back to 112 million years was damaged beyond repair by heavy machinery. Oh my God. The Canyon Mill Dinosaur Track site in southeastern Utah offers a snapshot of life in the early Cretaceous period. It contains roughly 200 fossilized footprints. So let's scroll down and see. Maybe there's a picture of it so that you can take a look at it. Again, this is over at appleinsider.com, and it's written by Paula Rosa Aquino. I think that's how it's pronounced. That picture doesn't show it as being damaged, but let's see if there is one. Let me scroll a little bit more. The agency failed to take the necessary precautions when constructing a boardwalk aimed at protecting the fragile ancient footprints. According to a Bureau of Land Management report, areas of avoidance were not properly marked, and work crews weren't thoroughly briefed on where they could and couldn't go, the agency said in a March 8th assessment, which was made public earlier this month. As a result, trace fossils were damaged. Unfortunately, one trace was repeatedly driven over, as recent tire tracks indicate that this area was impacted by the backhoe and other vehicles. That just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you don't drive over the very area that you're supposed to be protecting. But, if you don't have conscientious people, this is what you're going to end up with. I mean, I don't know. If I would have been there and I saw footprints of dinosaurs and I'm in a place that's called the Mill Canyon Dinosaur Track Site, I'd probably pause. But I'm not in a hurry for anything. Okay, so the next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. And it's upgrade your Steam Deck GPU by turning it into a jury-rigged monstrosity. I have not even begun to hear about the Steam Deck being tweaked. I've kind of been holding back paying too much attention to the Steam Deck. I don't want to buy another gadget. I don't know how to explain that other than that. Turns out you actually can upgrade the graphics in Valve's Steam Deck with an off-the-shelf GPU, so long as it's an AMD Radeon card and you don't mind pulling the SSD out of its slot. You can get up to 10 times the gaming performance of the stock Aerith APU. That's a funny name because I have a channel called Aerith, spelled differently, but still Aerith. The Steam Deck is a full gaming PC. That's something that Valve has been keen to talk about since revealing its handheld gaming PC. And what do you do when your gaming PC doesn't have enough graphical grunt? You strap a new graphics card onto it, which is exactly what YouTube channel ETA Prime has just done. I used to watch them. This isn't the first time someone's plumbed a new GPU into their Steam Deck. UFD Tech had an RX 6600 XT running in one it picked up off eBay for a likely offensive sum of money. But ETA Prime went further, a lot further, and has managed to plug an ASRock RX 6900 XT OC into one of Valve's handheld beasties. This article is over at PC Gamer. It's written by Dave James. Let's see what this thing... Oh my goodness. It's an external GPU, basically. Using a simple M.2 to PCIe adapter, you can plumb even an RX 6900 XT into Valve's handheld PC. But it's not exactly practical. No, indeed it's not. But why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there. What a beast. Look at that thing. But it's an external GPU. If you can unplug it, hopefully you can still use the local one. I'm not sure. I don't think it says it in there. But I'll let you go and read the rest of this article. Just know that if your Steam Deck graphics don't meet your approval, you can install an external GPU for an obscene amount of money, I'm sure. Okay, so this next article is in the Warcrafters channel. It says best audio headphones for gaming. I've gotten into discussions with people who are audiophiles, and I always like to throw out that there are times where there have been researchers experimenting with audiophiles, and they can't tell the difference between two different types of cables and whatnot. But when you hear audio from quality headphones or quality speakers, you don't have to be an audiophile to hear the difference, and you definitely don't need to call yourself an audiophile. I like saying, do you know how to find out if somebody is an audiophile? Don't worry, they'll tell you. Don't worry, I don't think anybody's too bent out of shape about me saying that. But it says great audio is a staple of PC gaming, and your PC is likely set up pretty well to deliver everything that awesome audio has to offer. You might want to look at picking up a sound card or a DAC amp down the line, but they're not requirements for improving audio setup today. So let's click this link and see what some of these are. This is an article over at PCGamer.com written by Dave James, and they have a few here. I have the Neuraloops. I don't have the others. Let me see. I had at one time the Jabras. Whoa, this thing. Oh, I clicked it and it dragged me down to the bottom. 1 second. Let me scroll back up here. No, there's only 7. Okay. I've had the Beats. I've had the Jabra. I've had forms of Sennheisers and the Neuraloop, not the Neurophone. The Neurophones are an odd bird because they actually plug into your ears and like cup onto your ear. They go inside your ears and around your ears. They're gonna cup everything. It's an interesting thing. I'll scroll down and show you. But the audio that comes out of them is pretty amazing. That said, you can get dramatically more expensive and higher quality than these, but it's the best bang for buck kind of thing that this article is going for. Let me scroll back up here. Yeah, and like I said, it's written by Dave James, so it's definitely an opinion piece. You'll have to go to this article because it's really about form and function and your price and various qualities. But rest assured, the best audio is the audio that works. So if you can save up and get a quality headset, meanwhile you're using JLab's basic $30 headset, you're better off than nothing. So I'm going to continue on. Let's just continue on. The next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. Heiress Abigail Disney says, quote unquote, billionaires are miserable, unhappy people, and it's time for change. The billionaire bashing needs to happen. I don't know why we're being so polite. So this is the filmmaker and Disney heiress spoke at an event hosted by millionaires for an equitable economy. At, quote, oligarchs versus all of us, the fight for power and money, end quote. Disney said, billionaires are isolated and miserable. My part of the American dream is to step up and pay my fair share, Disney previously told Congress. So let's click this link. She is a filmmaker and activist and is the granddaughter of Walt Disney Company co-founder Roy Disney. This is an article over at businessinsider.com, and it's written by Juliana Kaplan. And, I'll accept it at face value. And isolationist, yeah, I can imagine. I have met some extremely wealthy people in my time, and it's hit or miss. Either they accept you, or they think that you are, something to utilize, and it's more distanced. So here, provide this service and that kind of a thing. So it's pretty typical, except that when you have billions of dollars, you can grow to have the perception that you can do pretty much anything and get away with it. That said, it's also the fact that there are products and services and a whole world of things that the average Joe will never even become close to being able to have in their life. So it says here, as a multimillionaire, she has emerged as one of the most prominent faces of a movement driven by the wealthy to tax the wealthy. she once received a quote-unquote class traitor award, which is something that I find abhorrent. Most people who are multimillionaires have obtained that through the transfer of wealth within the family. Some people are beyond that; they've maintained their wealth, but it has been demonstrably proven that if you are wealthy, you don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to worry about where your food comes from, where your house comes from, or that you have a house. You don't have to worry about protection. You don't have to worry about all kinds of stuff that the average common Joe like me has to worry about. If I get sick, I could lose everything. If I get hurt, I could lose everything. I can't just suddenly manufacture my own health and take care of the family. Whereas when you are extremely wealthy, you can hire somebody to take care of somebody, and you don't have to worry about going out and getting your food because you've got somebody that can go and buy it and bring it back, etc., etc., etc. I mean, it's one thing after another, and it goes all the way down to children. If children have to worry about where their food is, then they don't learn because they're struggling to focus on learning. And then that turns into additional things as they get older, and it's survival instinct, depending on where they live, all kinds of sociological forces here. Money makes all of that stress go away. So you can focus on the important things, perceived important things, which is growing. Even as an adult, if you have to worry about where your food is, or worry about paying your mortgage, etc., you have your priorities change. You go into survival mode, but that's not what it's like for the wealthy. And many don't see the average Joe as human. So kudos to Roy Disney's granddaughter. Okay, I'm just going to continue on. And so, I'm not going to continue on. I want to address this last statement of hers. I don't know why we're being so polite. I can tell you why we're being so polite. That wealth affords a whole lot of political control and socioeconomic control and social control. Nobody wants to rise up against billionaires because they can end you. It's simply by buying the company if they wanted to, and there were enough concerted voices rising up against a billionaire class, they'll buy your company and just disable it, just disband it, make it all disappear, and they can do it. If Elon Musk wanted to, he could buy companies that sit there and say anything negative towards him. He could go to a company and say, hey, I'll invest in your company, but you got to fire that person. And it will be nothing, because if Elon Musk were to invest $50 million somewhere, he could pay off or buy a company with the interest that's earned in a month. And I'm just saying that name because it's the biggest name out there. But anybody can do it. All they need is money, and they can leverage that influence to their own ends. So why are we being so nice? It's because there are people that think that they are just one really good deal away from being a millionaire as well, let alone a billionaire, not realizing that, like sports, you have a fraction, 0.0000000, you carry on those 1% chance of being in the billionaire class. You're not going to get it. You may earn millions, give that wealth to your children, and your children might be able to parlay that into billions because they no longer have to worry about money. So I'm going to continue. As long as they have a good head on their shoulders, they'll be able to turn it into billions. Many of us never have that chance. Never, ever, ever. So this next article, I'm going to continue on now. The next article is in the Smack Talk channel. Apple releases 3 new Beats Studio Buds colors. Apple has released Beats Studio Buds in sunset pink, moon gray, and ocean blue, with all 3 colors now available through the Apple Store. So I'm going to click this link. It'll take us over to appleinsider.com. Wesley Hilliard is the author. And there is a picture of the new colored Beats. And I'm curious about the price. It says the new colors are split up among different retailers, but customers can get all 3 colors from the Apple Store. Amazon gets moon gray, Best Buy gets ocean blue, and Target is selling the sunset pink Beats Studio Buds. And they're $150, so go check them out. And the original colors include black, white, and red. I'd probably get the gray or black. So the next one in our final article for the day, and I'm not sure why it got broken, but at any rate, it says this map shows where people moved during the pandemic, and I'm going to assume that it's in the U.S. It looks like it's for the U.S. only, but let's see what happens. It's over in the Hatch Ideas channel, but it was aggregated from businessinsider.com, and the author of this article is Madison Hoff. I'm not sure where they got all of the information from, but it might be from, it says insiders calculations of Census Bureau data. Neat. Net domestic migration per 1,000 residents, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. So where did everybody go and where did everybody leave? This is a neat map. And so let's see here. They left from LA County and they went somewhere else. Without comparison between the previous time frame, it's hard to actually know if in previous iterations they went from one place to another to see what those hot sites are, right? So like all of these, Nye County, Nevada, all kinds of people moved in. Well, it says net domestic migration was only 2,144 people. So it's actually, this is a big county in Nevada, but not much in terms of population going into it, but it's a change. It's interesting that they use this blue and red, kind of like moving from one location to another. But to me, blue and red has a political tilt to it as well. But I've done research on the impact of population density and voting, and I can pretty much predict what a presidential outcome is. And I've done it for 2 sessions now, where I can predict to pretty high accuracy which way a county is going to go. It's no secret anymore. I've been talking about it periodically, but this is probably the most public that I've spoken about it in terms of just general population. But as population density increases, people go Democratic, whereas lower population density counties end up going Republican. And at least for 2 presidencies now, I've been able to predict with pretty good certainty. So it says here, startup founder Hader Edges moved from San Francisco to Portland, Oregon in October 2021. Ejaz told insiders Hannah Alberts one reason for the move was because Portland isn't as expensive. Yeah, there's a shock to the system. Everything is more expensive nowadays. Prices increased something like 8.6% in March. That's a shock to the system. Anyway, in terms of this, I think that it is an important metric for where society is going, at least in the United States. In other countries, obviously, you'll have to do your own research. I wouldn't have the data. And I wouldn't have the ability to verify the data. So I would need several years. At any rate, go over to businessinsider.com and read this article titled, "This Map Shows Where People Moved During the Pandemic." And from here, you could probably find out which direction a state might be voting. Again, as population increases, it tends to vote Democratic. And I've done the research down to the county level. Okay, anyway, that's where I am at the end of the day today for the ohmTown Daily News Show. I always take us back to the front page where I can click on the front page, take us back to the very beginning of ohmTown's news stream. And there you have it. More news. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then I stream at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then I post it over to YouTube and over to Apple iTunes. And it's also available on Spotify and Google Play podcasts. I will see you tomorrow, and thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.